So there's been some interesting news for Starfield. On Reddit, a developer said, "We're also hard at work on many new features you asked for, from city maps, mod support, to all new ways of traveling." So, what do they mean by that? Let's speculate. I'll start with the thing I'd like to see the most, which is, so for example, when you play Starfield, for me, the most annoying part in this game is that you don't have any type of time delay or feeling of having traveled somewhere because you're instantly traveling. Okay, let's say, for example, I'm on this moon and I want to get to this moon over here. It's instant. You just select it, click it, you get a cutscene, and that's it. And I think 1 or 2 months ago I made a video where I suggested that traveling inside a system, like that distance over here, should take about 5 to 10 minutes real time. So you would take off with your ship, it would fly slowly, then you could be able to get out of your ship cockpit and then do some type of activity inside your ship, like crafting, talk to NPC, and the game could throw different gameplay things at you, like perhaps as if you flew half the way, there's a distress call that might derail you to somewhere else and you find like a derelict ship or something else. Now perhaps the developer saw my suggestion or they have a similar suggestion already. I think that would be the best case scenario because it would fill out that gameplay space that's currently missing when you're traveling in the game. Because I think you need some type of real-time delay to get to places, to feel you traveled somewhere. Because you actually have that when you're traveling on foot, you actually have that, ironically, in this game. Like if I'm over here and I see some interesting building on the horizon, it can take me 5 to 10 minutes to get there. So that's the most likely scenario. Now, I'd like to speculate about some other scenarios that some of them I think might be possible. Another thing might be some type of changes or addition to different ways of ground traveling. Now, the first common thing that players might think of is some type of ground vehicle. I think that's unlikely. See here, that's concept art from Starfield. You see like some type of ground vehicle that you can use for traveling. Our developer said it will not have ground vehicles in the game. And I think that it will remain like that because adding real ground vehicles that can drive, Bethesda never did that in any of the games. And then you would have to add like realistic driving physics, suspension. I don't think they're going to do that just for an update for the game. And actually, it would actually be hindering, I think, in some way to the current gameplay. Because one of the most fun things in the game, at least for me, is actually spending 5 to 10 minutes just on foot traveling through landscape and seeing some object in the distance I want to get to. Now, the next possible thing is some type of rideable mount robot or animal. Because that's Bethesda already has gameplay code for that in previous games. Like, I think you could ride horses in Skyrim. And you have the power armor in Fallout 4. So something like Death Stranding, where you could have this bipedal robot that you can use for cargo hauling, or you could just jump on it and travel along with it. I think that's a possibility because Death Stranding, I think, is really influential on game development. I think a lot of other game developers look to Death Stranding for inspiration in some ways. So that's, I think, is likely because you just have to have some type of entry animation and you could just use the Vasco animations. Like imagine this is Vasco, and you could just jump on Vasco and be carried around by Vasco. Now the next possibility is that it's perhaps some type of mech that are currently in the game, because the game currently has mechs as lore pieces and as some type of static objects you can look at. Oh, I think that's unlikely to have mechs, because if you add mechs, then players would expect mech combat, like different guns, a detailed cockpit. So it's unlikely they're going to do that just for a patch for the existing game. And then you would have to also add enemy mechs so that you can fight, and how would it affect different gameplay locations? They would have to check if a mech, what type of door size it can get through and all of that. I don't think they want to do that. I think they just want to add some type of new traversal gameplay that doesn't affect other gameplay systems too much. So my most likely speculation is it's either, hopefully, it's that making space travel more meaningful and like having physical gameplay in your ship as you're traveling for 5 or 10 minutes, or it's going to be some type of rideable robot. Anything else, I think, is unlikely. And now I'm optimistic about that it might be something substantial because it actually takes some time to make it. If it would be some quick hack on something, then they would have already released it. But they mention it, and it's probably going to come out the next 1 or 2, 3 months, or at least getting shown off.